Hey folks, Nicola here from Conscious Crypto Traders, and I'm not coming to you live today. I've got all sorts of technical issues trying to get into the live stream and get it all set up and what have you. So I'm just recording this and hopefully can get it up around about the same time so that you get this information on time. We are, of course, looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, and XRP today because I wanted to talk about what are you going to do if we are in a bear market. We've already topped out. We're not going to get a bull cycle or a parabolic run up this time. And XRP and Chainlink happen to be two coins that I really like to talk about as being potentially elongating your profits. So we're going to be looking at those two coins. I also want to look at, well, what if we haven't topped out and we're going to get a parabolic run up, and the timing and how I've been saying for weeks now, we're coming up to a really, really critical time. I mean, if any of you are using Market Cipher or watching any of the analysts that use Market Cipher, they've had a red diamond that has posted on the weekly, which usually gives you several weeks warning that in a few weeks we could have a very large crash, and that happens to correspond with what's going on in astrology, which we've been following, as well as other analysts talking about that we have a death cross potentially coming up mid-May, which corresponds with Mercury retrograde coming into this new moon. So what I want to look at, we've been talking about these dates, and I want you to screenshot this. What I've got here, we've been talking about these dates for a while, and they've been working perfectly. And if you don't kind of like moon phases or astrology or what have you, probably not the best channel for you unless you want to open your mind, because we can see that when we get a new moon at the top here, we usually get some kind of a retracement, and sometimes it's a big dump. And when we get a full moon, around about the full moon, we often get a little bit of we dump into the full moon, boom, here, and then a day or two later or on the day, we start pumping again. And I have been saying, if you track back and you have a look at this is the moon phases indicator on TradingView, you can see very clearly that there is a pattern here. So I want to look at this pattern over the coins that we're going to look at, so we can know how we should be approaching the trading over the next week to month or 6 months. Now, many of you know that I have been postulating that we may get a parabolic run up until the 29th or the 30th of April, at least that break a higher high here to around 48,887. But if we don't do that this week and we reverse back down, it's possible that we have absolutely topped out of the bull cycle, in which case when Bitcoin comes back down, creates a lower low, that could trigger altcoin season. But right now, money's pouring into Bitcoin, so there's a lot of positiveness here. Also, let's look at these dates first. So these green lines here are new moon, full moon, watch for pump. And these red lines are new moon, watch for dumps. And here we are right here. We're just about coming up to it. What's significant about this new moon is the day before is Pluto retrograde, and that starts retrograde season, which goes all the way up to the 2nd of June. We get Pluto retrograde, Mercury retrograde, and Saturn retrograde. And the last time we had those conjunctions was when we topped out at 60, I think it was 65k, and then we had a massive 50% plunge. So that's what we're looking at. However, having said all that, and remember, astrology, I'm just looking at these using astrology to go, these are the dates I need to be careful of and not be careless in my trading, right? Actually, let me just get rid of that, so you're not having to look at my bar. So that's kind of like how I look at it. I don't look at it as a hard and fast rule. I just go, on these dates or around these dates, I need to be particularly careful about longing or shorting, right? And that's why we want to use it. Because if we look at the actual technicals, let's have a look at the weekly for Bitcoin. And let's look at the RSI, where we have had a clear trend down, and on the price action we have had a clear trend up. So that's a divergence. Here we got the divergence. This is a bearish divergence. So we knew on this candle here back in November that we're probably going to have a pretty significant dump, which is why I had said last year, selling everything in December, buying back on the dip. Boom. Got that right? So we got all the way down here. Now let's have a look at where we're at right now. One could argue that this here is a downward trending wedge, and in previous bull runs when we've had a downward trending wedge like this, we've broken to the upside. We have a really huge parabolic run. So that's the positive side. The positive side to say that we are going to get a parabolic run could potentially be showing up in this RSI. Right. The other thing that we're in process of here, if you look at down here on the RSI at the bottom, at this bottom here, and then down here, that is a, can I bring that up? There we go. Thank you. See, on the RSI here, this is crazy. I'm going to take it away. If you have a look to your left at the RSI around about here. Right there. And now I'm going to take my mouse away so that you can see it. There we go. And then if we track down, it goes down. That's a lower low on the RSI. And on the price action, we've got a higher high, which is a bullish divergence. And that is what we got. We got a bullish play. We got bullish movement coming to the upside here. Right? And now we're coming back down because we're in this wedge. And the breakout of this wedge is really interesting. This is in August. So we could break out any time between now and August, or we could just keep trading sideways within a range, and during retrograde season we still could get dumps, but we might not get the big dumps that we've had before, and then we get our parabolic run in August and not get it this week and not get it in May, right? Is this whole saying in the stock market, sell in May, go away. This was May here. April rather, this was April last year, came back down, came back up in May, beginning of May, that was Saturn retrograde, boom, big dump. Well, Saturn retrograde is the 4th of June this year. It's not in May, but we do have retrograde season starting at the end of April going into May. So what does all this mean on short-term trading? Well, if you have a look at these lines here, this is looking very much like we're forming a rising wedge, and this breaks to the downside more often than it breaks to the upside, but we've got a ways to go before we would get to the pinnacle of that rising narrowing wedge. Look at that, and let's have a look at the time frame. The story that I'm telling here, this takes us to March next year, 2023. The story that I'm telling here is that I believe we are seeing a break in structure of the patterns of a 4-year cycle where we have 2 years, 18 months to 2 years going up after the halving, 2 years to 18 months going down post the all-time high of that cycle, right? We've already had 2 highs within the same 4-year cycle, and we could have a third one that happens next year or this year. So I think we can't be operating from assumptions that it's just going to go up or down. I think we are looking at, we are turning the tide on our patterns, and this is why I've been saying on the daily, if we look at the moon phases, it is showing us that we could be turning the pattern. And if you have a look back here, when new moons happen in a downtrend, from new moon to new moon, we've created a lower high. But when new moons have happened in a uptrend, every new moon creates a higher high. And this is why I'm saying this new moon is going to be a telltale sign as to whether or not we're swinging around and we're going back into an upward trend, creating higher lows and higher highs during retrograde season, and trading within this zone here, between, between 40, let's have a look at that, between say between 50,000 and hit the late 30,000s heading up as we trade, right? That's the big question, or maybe even coming back down to 33,000 or 30,000 with a wick. See how these long wicks happen? So what that means, they say trade the channel. We are at the bottom of this channel heading up, but we're dangerously close to coming back down again. Now here's the thing, we are in an upward trend on our new moons now, creating from here to there a higher high and higher lows on the new moon, on the full moons. So if this full moon, which is happening next week, does not get up above 49,954, I have a note that I'm selling out of everything, because that could signify a crash, and I can always buy back in on the dip and accumulate the coins, right? That's my note to myself. Because if we don't get here, then this Pluto retrograde and this new moon could plunge us back down to, at the very least, 40,500, maybe even 38,199, or again we could go down into the low 30s or the higher 20s, possibly even create a lower low. If we create a lower low with this next dip and we go below 27,500, we could be going down to close the CME gap. Let me show you. So I haven't prepared that chart for you. And that would trigger an altcoin season. So if we come back down here to the CME gaps, before we started, we have some nice gaps. Where am I? This gap here hasn't been closed. 32,960 to 34. Right? Oh, it has been closed. Sorry, I beg my pardon. I'm looking for the ones in the 20s. Where are they? Here it is, down here. Let me just, sorry, I didn't prepare this for you beforehand. I want you to write these down just to know this. Here they are here. 18,520 is the bottom of that gap, and the top of that gap is 19,365. Highly unlikely that will close, because the bottom of every bear cycle is always higher than the previous high of the last bull cycle, which was sitting at around 20,000, right? It's more likely that if we do create a lower low, if Bitcoin comes down to 24,705 in the next month or two, or 25,840, that could trigger an altcoin season. Money will flow out of Bitcoin and into altcoins. That's a possibility, right? So I just wanted to show you that. Now let's niche down and have a look at what could happen in the next few days and even weeks on as we head into new moon and Pluto retrograde, which are two indications of significant dumpage. Now, if we get up, like if something happens, like a miracle happens, and we just shoot up in the next 7 days, what was that move there? That was, I'll bring the Ichimoku cloud in just a moment as well. That was 16%. Where would that take us to on this impulse here? Yeah, see, that would only take us not even up to this resistance. So we are still in very, very, very cautious territory here, guys. So I want to go to the 4 hour and let's have a look at trading over the next week. So we're just having a bit of a retracement right now. And we've got a little bit of a bearish divergence on the 4 hour. You can see how that we've got a lower low on the RSI as we've dumped down. So this dump could still go back further. We had, it's like this really weird inverse head and shoulders, like very, very thin shoulders. Right, there it is there. And then this is the target up here at 43,543. We've come up, came back down, went under the neckline, bounced back up off of this trend line here. And now we're coming back down And if we get a bounce at 41,696, we're probably going to create a higher high and fulfill this inverse head and shoulders target. So that means there's a good long opportunity coming up around there. So watch for the bounce candle off here at around 41. Let's go 41,690 to 41,720, somewhere around there. Just watch for that. We get a bounce, we get a green candle, we head up. Then that's that's an indication that this pattern will play out. So let's bring in Ichimoku and see what Ichimoku has to say about our direction. And we're in the cloud, we're in the resistance cloud. We do have a bullish sign down here. You can see the conversion line has crossed over the baseline, and we're still, the lagging span is still under the cloud, so that is bearish, and we've got resistance here, but we are fighting the resistance because look at that, we've had a big move to the upside to get up out of this the resistance, and once we get up above this cloud, I think that we could be looking really good for a run up, but time is ticking. It's got to happen this week. Ichimoku cloud on the 1 hour is showing that this retracement is just a small retracement back down to previous support level. And if I bring in the Fibonacci's, we can get a bit more accurate with where a good long entry could be. Obviously not financial advice, got to do your own research and absolutely follow the tools that I'm using. Cracking cryptocurrency, Ichimoku and the Fibonacci to get more here. This has just touched this Fibonacci level at the 0.236, so we could get a bounce. If we don't get a bounce and we come back under, and then maybe just wick to what the mentioned before, the 41,690 plus, and come back up here, that is looking good because Ichimoku cloud in front of us is green, and that is bullish. And the lagging span is above price action. Check mark number 2 is bullish. And then the conversion line green is above the baseline red on the Ichimoku cloud, which is bullish. So we've got some bullish things, bullish signs happening here. Whenever we see Ichimoku cloud starting to flatten out like this, it can get a bit choppy, so watch for that. But we literally have a week before Pluto goes retrograde to get some massive move to the upside. I'm going to bring in my dirty chart just to finish off with the levels that you want to watch if you're hodling and you want to get out at the top of the market and you miss the $68,000 range. Remember, we have these, if I come in here on the 5 daily, we have these clear, I know this is a bit messy for you, so hang on, sorry, let me just, I've been dealing with so many technical issues today, I've kind of didn't get a chance to clean up my charts as usual. We have these 2 clear trading zones that see this green line here, the resistance, and then this support line down here that we have been trading in, right? And then we traded above it for a bit and came back down into it. And then there's another zone, this green zone here from 60,100 to 51,580 something, right? This level here where I've got the pink zone, I think, please write this down, this is 57,321 all the way up to 58,832, maybe even up to 60,000. If this was the top of the market here at 69,179, then this is the level that we could top out at, turn around, reverse, and create a lower low, confirming that this was a bear market trend, like the bear cycle. If we go above that, then this year, whether we do that before retrograde season or we do it after it's all over in August, and we get a bull run towards the end of the year that creates a higher high, then we're confirming that we've broken the 4-year cycle of 2 years up, 2 years down approximately. We've already got an elongated cycle as it is, that happens every bull cycle we've had previously has been extended by 2 months. So so we'll see. That's what we want to watch out for. So a long is incoming. Would I short it? This is a symmetrical, an ascending triangle, which is a trend reversal pattern with a bias to the upside. If we break this support, come down, come back up and test it as resistance, come back down and break 38,310, we're probably going down to those lower numbers that we've been talking about, right? And if you catch that up here as a short, that's possible. Now here, we tried to do that. Look at this. We came down and we got a lot of shorts going in, but bulls bought up very rapidly at 38,399, which means there's a tremendous amount of support here for the price of Bitcoin. And look how that candle just got sucked up, right? Really, really fast, and then came back up over it. And now we're trading just above this triangle. Let's go down into the 4 hour, because once this retracement is over, this is the line here. That's the resistance line. Why am I keeping on getting that? That is the resistance line, like the 42,600 mark. You can see we got heavily rejected off of that, so that's still showing strong resistance. And you can see we're coming back down. We could be coming back down to the bottom here, but we're getting to the pinnacle of this. So any day now, we could break out of this all the way up to the 1st of May. If we don't break out of it, I think within the next 5 days, this is possible that this ascending triangle will break to the downside, which it could happen 20% to the downside, 50% to 80% to the upside. So that's what we're watching. This looks like a cup and handle on the 4 hour to me right now, which is a bullish sign. So again, look for a long to a good long entry point on the bounce. And that looks like that's going to take us up to 42,994, closer to this resistance line here, which is that downward sloping resistance that we have been dealing with. And of course, you know, we've got to get back up to here. So that is kind of what we've got to watch out for. And let me just go back to the daily so that you can see that it will be very interesting. Oops, I'm on the wrong chart. That's why I can't see my daily lines. This is D-Day here, 29th. Let's say the 28th to the 29th to the 30th of April, watch for significant dumpage, right? There's also, I haven't done moving averages for a while because I tend to just watch the Ichimoku cloud and the actual price action. But there are some concerning signs in the moving averages to show that we could be getting a death cross in May, which is confirming the astrological dates for a really big dump. And you know, the market cipher red diamond on the weekly is like any week now we could see a big dump, and I've been saying dumpage dates astrologically could start as early as the 28th of April to the 30th of April, 1st, 2nd of May, through May and into June. So it could get really choppy. So when you're looking at strategy, I've shifted my strategy to be scalping more. I'm not swing trading at the moment because we don't know where it's going to turn, and I'm not going to hold everything open when it could dump. So if we look at Ethereum, remember, we have an altcoin season usually. Once Bitcoin dominance dies down and it reaches a lower low, that can often trigger a really big, altcoin season. And Ethereum's looking more bullish, in my opinion, than Bitcoin. We are in a symmetrical triangle that we've come into from the downside up into it, indicating that this is potentially look at this, come up into a bullish pattern. I mean, some could say, well, this impulse down here means we've come down into it, but normally that would mean we've come down into it, and then we wouldn't have had this big pump to the upside. It would have been more bearish. So we would have come down here and maybe traded around here and created it here, but we pump up into it which in my opinion is a little bit more bullish than bearish. So let's have a look at that target. So if Bitcoin dumps, remember the whole market dumps anyway. It's just the altcoins I think will probably recover faster, and Bitcoin will just be quite sluggish throughout the retrograde season. So that means that we could get a top of around 6,125 somewhere soon, right? But again, this is going to be interesting because astrologically it doesn't look like we would get that until August. We would come out of here, we'd start coming out here, and then as we go into August we would start to see a rally. So we'll just have to watch for that really carefully. On the 4 hour, if you're looking at a trade, I think we've just had a significant pullback and a potential bear flag there for Bitcoin as well too, but like I'm not paying too much attention to bull and bear flags because they're being busted up all over the place. I'm looking more at all of these other indicators and specifically watching on-chain metrics a lot in terms of what the whales are doing, because they're usually doing the opposite of retail traders, which will force the market up or down and liquidate everybody out of shorts or longs depending on which way they go. See, look, we've got this. Let me do this. This is a head and got a similar pattern on the Ichimoku cloud. That's a head and shoulders on the inverse with a target of, again, suggesting that before we get to the new moon, that we're probably going to be getting up to these lot higher resistances, and if we break above it, great. If we don't, then we're in for 4 months of very, very choppy, bearish sentiment. So where's that? That's around about 3308. Could possibly wick all the way up to 3371. Let's bring in the Fibonacci and see where the 50%. Yeah, look. There's the golden ratio. So the confluence is around 3369. And look, the golden ratio is down here. So I'd be looking at anything from 30 to 60 to start dollar costing, averaging in to a long to ride this thing back up to here. But I really want to get across to you, 28th, 29th, 30th of April, be watching all of your coins, watching the resistance lines. If they're hitting resistance, if the RSI is starting to get really high, this is really high, consider looking at getting out of a lot of your coins. See, if the RSI is way up here, over here, as we approach those dates, that's an indication of a big move to the downside. There's no point in hodling any of your coins, in my opinion, at that level, unless there are contraindications, because you can always buy the dip and add more coins to your bag just in case. And for me, this is like risk management, just in case the market has topped out and all we're doing is confirming that we've moved to that next level of a lower high on the charts, and now we're going to create a lower low and go much lower down. And you're better off, in my opinion, selling out and just buying back in on the dip to ride it up, and that way you've got more coins, and then when you get into profit, you've actually got more profit. But up to you, and definitely not financial advice, so you want to be thinking very carefully about your strategy. I just want you to be aware that we could be coming in for massive dumpage, and whether or not we get a massive pump before that happens, that's the thing that we're watching out for, right? Now, Chainlink and XRP are a little bit of an exception, because Chainlink has yearly cycles. We get a top and a bottom every year, so we don't have to wait 4 years to get from the very getting in at the bottom of the market to getting at the top of the market to get profits. It can happen within a year, and usually Link is a good performer during a bear cycle. And right now for Link, we're pretty much at the bottom, so this is bargain territory for getting in on Link. So that's why we're going to start looking at Chainlink a little bit more. And let's look at the 4 hourly and see where we're at. We've come up into this symmetrical triangle, which is bullish. We're just coming back down right now to test this as support. Symmetrical triangles, 80% chance break to the upside, 20% chance break to the downside. And that could take us up to $15.73, somewhere around there. Maybe we might fall a little bit short of it, and we might just wick up above it, because if you look to the left, there's this nice support right there. Nice resistance rather, right there. So we could wick up to 1590, something like that. Could go higher, especially if we get a bit of a run, in which case the next level would be 1760. Now, here's the thing, timing. Because if we look at new moon cycles, for Chainlink, pretty consistent. New moon, reach the top, dump. Full moon, reach the bottom, pump. New moon, reach the top, dump. And then if we're in an upward trend, we might dump for a little bit and then keep pumping. But if we're in a downward trend, we could keep dumping, right? And get... So watch that, because Chainlink still does move to the moon cycle. Now let's look for XRP. XRP has just been so... what do we call it, price manipulation, and so suppressed. It's trading way below the all-time high of the previous market, $3.50, because of this SEC lawsuit, right? But it's looking very positive that this could come to an end any week now. And if you look at the charts, we have a let me go here. We have a big symmetrical triangle here that we've come into from the downside, and we've come up into it. And the target for that is sitting at around $1.83, maybe $2.01, which is where our all-time high to the left here was as well. We could wick all the way up there. And we've broken this, broken out, come back down, retested as support, came back down here, found support at 67.93, bounced off of that. Now we're retesting the next support level, which is around about where it is right now. Maybe a little bit lower, could come down to 72.90. And we're in a bull flag, so we could come back down there and then scooch on up and create a higher high. If we get above 91.16 before Monday or Tuesday of next week, I think it's possible that this could just shoot up really fast. Let's have a look at the VPVR. Yeah, look at that. We get up above 84.72. There's a bit of a gap there where we could have a fast run up to around about 92.80. We get up above there, we could run up really quickly to $1. This zone here, $1, it's usually about $1.03 it starts to find resistance and get a bit starchy, all the way up to $1.12. That we traded for a long time in that zone. So those are trouble zones, but you want to make sure you've got your VPVR in, because this is where you can see sudden pumps, right? When you've got these big gaps in the shorts and longs going in, you can often get big sudden parabolic run-ups, and those are really fun to scalp. But for me, this is looking, we're in neutral territory on the RSI. This is looking like we're just getting a small pullback here to find a little bit lower on the support level to come up for a significant run up to the upside. So I would just be being very cautious, and my strategy is every time we hit resistance, take profit. Right, because we're coming back down and we can get back in and just ride the waves, basically, especially because we're turning, and when we turn the market, we want to make sure that that we're not in the short when we should be in a long, or preparing for a long, or vice versa. So that's it for today, guys. I'll see you every day in our Discord server at Conscious Crypto Traders, where I'm posting videos and TA every single day except for Saturday, and days that my technology fails me. And other than that, I will see you next Wednesday as usual. We weren't able to do Wednesday yesterday, sorry, because of the technical issues I've been having. I mean, basically my wires are frazzled on my recharger for my laptop, and it's not recharging properly, and so my laptop keeps crashing, and I need to go and get a charger. And I live on the top of the mountain in the middle of nowhere, and I'm going into town tomorrow to get a new charger. I have to drive like an hour and a half to get anywhere. So that is what I'm going to be doing, so that I don't have my computer keep crashing on me. So that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening, everybody, and until then, trade consciously. Bye for now.